I'm 32 now. When I met Ryan, I was 21. He was handsome in that easy, trustworthy way. Dark hair, kind eyes, the kind of guy who listened when you talked. We built a life together. Nothing glamorous, but steady. We argued, sure, but we grew through it. We had a nice little house, inside jokes. Sunday mornings with coffee and pancakes. My sister Star, 4 years younger, had been living in Florida since she turned 18. She was always the golden child to my parents. Mom doted on her. Dad never said no. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the one who didn't cause trouble, but still somehow felt like a disappointment. I thought I'd escaped all that when Star moved away. But then, about 8 months ago, everything changed. Star came back to our hometown after a brutal breakup. She'd been with her boyfriend for years. She said he cheated on her with men. It sounded dramatic and far-fetched, but I didn't push it. She moved back in with my parents. She was broke, jobless, heartbroken. At first, I felt sorry for her. I even helped her. Ryan worked at a big company and had some pull in his department. I suggested he could help Star get a job. He did. She started working under him in his department, a good job in her field. Looking back, that was the beginning of the end. Star and I have never been close. Even as kids, it was like we were living in two different worlds. When we both turned 16, I got an old Dodge Neon. She got a nearly new Mitsubishi Eclipse. Her dance competitions cost thousands. My parents paid for everything, no questions asked. Meanwhile, when I asked for $50 for volleyball camp, they acted like I was draining their retirement. I learned to keep my expectations low. So when Star started spending more time at our house, I thought maybe she's trying to make amends. Maybe she's finally growing up. Ryan seemed happy too. They had work stuff to talk about, projects to plan. They developed their own inside jokes. When I tried to join in, they'd brush me off. Just a work thing, Ryan would say. It started small. Little moments. Then bigger ones. About a month after she started her new job, Star began showing up at my house when I wasn't there. Ryan and I had different work schedules. He worked 8 to 4:30. I worked 10 to 7. More and more often, when I came home, Star was just leaving. They always had excuses. We had work stuff to do. She needed to borrow a book. She wanted to talk about a project. I tried to brush it off. I tried to believe them. Then I noticed something weird. I make the bed every morning before work. I'm a creature of habit. I even make sure the open sides of the pillowcases face the edge of the bed. It's my little ritual. One night, after Star had been over, I noticed 2 pillows flipped. Open sides toward the middle. Not how I left them. I asked Ryan, "Did you take a nap in bed today?" He froze for a split second, then said, "No. Why?" I told him the bed wasn't how I made it. He shrugged. "You must have done it differently." I felt crazy. Gaslit. I even went through his phone and laptop when he wasn't looking. Nothing. But then again, they worked together all day. Why would they need to text? I started to think I was losing my mind. 2 weeks later, we were at my parents' house for dinner. Everything was normal. Mom was fussing over Star. Dad was quiet, like always. Then I saw it. Ryan walked past Star. She lightly grabbed his arm. He turned to her. She whispered something, and they touched foreheads. Just for a second, Ryan jolted upright and kept walking. Star smiled at me. My stomach dropped. I wasn't imagining things. I planned a weekend getaway with Ryan, just the two of us. My idea was to confront him away from everyone else, in a place where he couldn't escape. I still prayed I was wrong, but I wasn't. That weekend started beautifully. Drinks, dancing, intimacy. For a moment, I thought maybe I was overreacting. But the next morning, while we were getting ready for the day, I turned to him and asked, "Are you having an affair with my sister?" He teared up. He said yes, and in that moment, my world cracked. The hotel room was silent except for Ryan's heavy breathing. His hands were covering his face, but I could still see the shame written all over him. "Yes," he whispered. "I slept with Star. It only happened once. It was a mistake. I'm sorry, once, always once. That's what cheaters say." My chest was tight, my ears were ringing. I don't even remember how I managed to grab my bag and walk out of that hotel without collapsing. I just knew if I stayed, I'd break into pieces. I drove around for hours. I don't remember where. Just driving, crying, shaking, pulling over to scream until my throat was raw. When I finally made it home, Ryan wasn't there. But Star was. She was sitting at my kitchen table like she owned the place. A cup of coffee in front of her. Calm. "Hey," she said softly, like nothing was wrong. I dropped my keys on the counter so hard they bounced onto the floor. "Get out," her smile faltered. "Look, I know you're upset." "Upset?" My voice cracked so loud it echoed. "You slept with my husband." "My husband, Star. What is wrong with you?" Her eyes flickered, but she didn't look guilty. Not really. More defensive. I was vulnerable. I was heartbroken. And Ryan, he was there for me. He cared when nobody else did, I laughed bitterly. "So your solution to heartbreak was to crawl into my marriage?" She stood, crossing her arms. "You don't understand. You've always had everything, and I've always been the one in your shadow. For once, someone chose me over you." Her words cut deeper than the affair itself. This wasn't guilt. This was envy festering for years. I wanted to lunge at her, scream until the neighbors called the cops. But instead, I pointed at the door. My voice was steady but shaking underneath. "Leave my house. Now, before I really lose it." She left, slowly, smirking like she'd won something. That night, Ryan came home begging. Flowers in hand, tears streaming down his face. He swore it meant nothing. He swore he'd cut her off. He said he'd go to therapy, do whatever I wanted. I told him to sleep in the guest room. The next day, my mom called. Her voice was cold. I heard what happened. Of course she had. Star wasted no time running to her. Mom's tone wasn't supportive. It was sharp. "You need to calm down." Star was in a vulnerable place. "You can't blame her." My jaw dropped. "She slept with my husband. How is she not to blame? She's your sister. Family comes first. Don't throw her away over a man." I felt like I was losing my mind. "A man? He's my husband." Mom sighed. "You've always been too dramatic. You need to forgive her." I hung up before I said something unforgivable. But in that moment, I realized something. My family wasn't going to take my side. Ryan and Star went on acting like it was all in my head. Ryan would come home, try to cuddle me, cook me dinner, tell me I was imagining things. Star would show up at my parents' house with tears in her eyes, playing the victim, saying I'd turned against her when she needed me most. My parents ate it up. I stopped going over there. They stopped calling me. It was like I'd been cut out of my own family while the people who betrayed me became closer. And the more isolated I felt, the more Ryan leaned on that. He'd say, "You're pushing everyone away. You're being paranoid. We can work through this if you just let go." I felt trapped. Alone in a marriage I didn't want. Abandoned by the family I thought would protect me. It came to a head 2 weeks later. I came home early from work, stomach in knots, hoping maybe, just maybe, I'd find Ryan waiting with an apology that felt real. Instead, I walked into my bedroom and found Star sitting on my bed. My bed? Ryan was standing near the dresser, looking guilty as hell. I froze. "What are you doing here?" Star stood, flipping her hair back like she was in a shampoo commercial. "We were just talking." "Talking? In my bedroom?" Ryan stammered. "She needed advice. She didn't want your parents to hear." Something in me snapped. I grabbed the lamp off my nightstand and hurled it against the wall. The crash made both of them jump. "Get out!" I screamed. "Both of you. Get out of my house. I'm done!" Star stormed past me, muttering something about how I'd regret this. Ryan hesitated. "Please don't do this." "We can fix it." I looked him dead in the eyes. "There's no fixing this. Pack your things. You're done." That night, Ryan left. I bagged up his clothes, his toothbrush, everything, and dropped them on the porch. The next day, I filed for divorce. I thought maybe, finally, I'd feel free. Instead, my life unraveled. My parents called me ungrateful. They sided with Star. They told everyone in our extended family that I'd abandoned her. My brother stopped speaking to me. My cousins unfriended me on social media. At work, rumors spread. Star worked with Ryan, and suddenly people were whispering about me. Not them. I felt like I was drowning in shame for something I didn't do. One night, sitting in my empty house, I thought about ending it all. No family. No husband. No support system. Just me. Alone. surrounded by ghosts of a life I didn't recognize anymore. I sat on the floor, crying so hard I could barely breathe, staring at a bottle of pills on the counter. But something inside me whispered, "They've already taken enough." "Don't give them this too." I put the pills back. I wiped my face. And I decided, if no one was going to save me, I'd save myself. That night was the end of the old me, the version who put up with scraps, the version who tolerated betrayal, the version who thought family loyalty was more important than self-respect. I didn't know how yet, but I was going to rebuild my life. And one day, Star and Ryan would regret everything they'd done, because the tables always turn. When the dust settled after the divorce, I was left with silence. A house that used to be filled with laughter and arguments was now just empty. At first, it felt like punishment. Every creak in the floorboards, every empty chair at the dinner table reminded me of what I'd lost. But slowly, that silence turned into something else. A blank canvas. A chance to start over. The divorce papers came through faster than I expected. Ryan didn't fight much. He wanted out clean, and honestly, so did I. I got the house. He got his freedom. Star and Ryan didn't waste any time making things official. Within months, they were together publicly. My parents practically rolled out a red carpet for them. Family dinners, holidays, Facebook posts, all with smiling pictures of them. I unfriended everyone, blocked their numbers. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one chasing family approval, and weirdly, that gave me space to breathe. The first big change was financial. I picked up extra hours at work. Then I applied for a promotion I'd been too scared to chase before. I got it. With the raise, I refinanced my house. I painted the walls, bought new furniture, and sold the bed Ryan and I used to share. Small things, but each one felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I started running every morning. At first, I couldn't even make it a mile without gasping. But I kept pushing. Within months, I was running 5 miles before work. I lost weight, toned my body, and more importantly, I felt strong for the first time in years. Friends I'd drifted from started coming back into my life. We'd meet for brunch, laugh over mimosas, and talk about everything except my ex. It was like I'd woken up from a long coma. I also started therapy. At first, I hated it. I didn't want to talk about Ryan and Star, didn't want to dredge up childhood wounds. But my therapist pushed me. She made me see how my family had always undermined me. How I'd been conditioned to put Star first. How my self-worth had been tied to their approval. Letting go of that was hard. But once I did, I started seeing myself differently. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a survivor, and survivors rebuild. 2 years passed like that. Quiet growth. Small victories stacking up into big ones. By 30, I'd bought a rental property. By 31, I'd paid off my car. I wasn't rich, but I was stable, independent, and proud of myself. I also started dating again. Nothing serious at first, just dinners, laughs, meeting new people. It felt good to be wanted, but on my terms this time, for the first time, I didn't feel like I needed anyone to complete me. Then one evening, scrolling on my phone, I saw something that made me pause. A photo of Star and Ryan, but this time, they didn't look like the golden couple my family had painted them as. Ryan looked older, heavier, tired. Star looked strained, her smile tight. The caption from my mom read, "So proud of my beautiful daughter and her hardworking husband." Something about it felt off. So I did a little digging. Through mutual friends, I found out Ryan had been passed over for a major promotion. The same promotion I'd once cheered him on for back when we were married. Apparently, his reputation at work had taken a hit. Something about favoritism with Star when she first got hired. Meanwhile, Star had bounced between jobs. She wasn't the golden child in the workplace she'd been at home. She had a reputation for drama, and Ryan's colleagues resented her. The cracks were showing. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from Ryan. It was late at night, and all it said was, "I'm sorry." For everything. I stared at it for a long time before deleting it. A week later, Star messaged me too. Hers was longer. She said things hadn't worked out like she thought. She admitted she'd been jealous of me all along, that she'd thought taking Ryan would finally make her feel like she'd won. But now? She felt stuck. She asked if we could meet. "I miss my sister," she wrote. I didn't reply. For years, they'd made me feel powerless. Like I was the outsider, the cast-off, the one who lost. Now they were the ones floundering. And me? I was thriving. I'd built a life from the ground up. Without them, that's when I realized I didn't need revenge. I was already living it. But still, a part of me wanted them to see it. To see how strong I'd become. To see what they'd thrown away. So when Star showed up uninvited at my doorstep one Saturday morning, eyes puffy from crying, saying, "Please, I need your help," I didn't slam the door. I smiled, because this time I was in control. When I opened the door and saw Star standing there, I almost didn't recognize her. Her hair, once perfectly styled, looked unwashed and dull. Her eyes were red and swollen. She was wearing an oversized hoodie that swallowed her frame. This wasn't the confident, smug sister who'd smirked at me from my own bed years ago. "This was someone broken. Can I come in?" she whispered. Every instinct in me screamed to slam the door in her face. But instead I stepped aside. Not because I wanted her there, but because for the first time I had the upper hand. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one where she'd once sipped coffee like she owned the place. She kept wringing her hands. Finally, she said, "Ryan, he left me. He moved out 2 weeks ago. He said he can't deal with me anymore." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, that's surprising. You two seemed perfect for each other." Her face crumpled. "Don't do that. Don't act like you don't know what it's like. He cheats, he lies. He makes you feel crazy. I should have listened to you." I leaned back, crossing my arms. "You should have listened before you climbed into my marriage." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I know, I ruined everything. I ruined us. I ruined you. And now I have no one." For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the smirk. The betrayal. The way my parents had taken her side. I sipped my coffee. Sounds like karma finally caught up. Over the next week, things escalated. My mom called, her voice frantic. "Your sister is going through a hard time. You need to help her." I laughed. "Help her? Like she helped me when she slept with my husband? Like she helped me when you all turned your backs on me?" Mom sighed. "You can't hold grudges forever. Family forgives." I finally said what I should have said years ago. Family protects. And you didn't protect me. You chose her. Now you can live with that. I hung up. For once, I didn't feel guilty. As if on cue, Ryan showed up a week later. He knocked on my door late at night, looking like hell. His once sharp suit jacket was wrinkled, his face unshaven. He had that desperate look in his eyes, the same one he'd had the day I found out about the affair. "Please," he said. "Can we talk?" I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "No, we don't talk anymore." He shoved his hands in his pockets. "Star's a mess. I can't deal with her. I shouldn't have left you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me." I almost laughed in his face. "Oh, so now that your toy broke, you want the old one back?" His jaw tightened. "I made a mistake." "No," I said calmly. "You made a choice. And now you get to live with it." I walked back inside and locked the door. His muffled voice called my name, but I ignored it. The next morning, I posted a photo, just me dressed in my new running gear, smiling in front of my freshly painted house with the caption, "Strong, single and thriving." The likes poured in. Old friends, co-workers, even distant cousins who'd once taken my parents' side, and I knew Ryan and Star would see it. They'd see me looking better than ever, living a life they couldn't touch. That was my revenge. Not screaming, not plotting, not destroying them, just living well. But fate wasn't done with them yet. A month later, I heard through the grapevine that Ryan had been demoted. Word at his company was that HR had investigated favoritism when he hired Star. It didn't look good for him. Star, meanwhile, had moved back in with my parents. But the golden glow had faded. Mom complained to mutual relatives that Star was difficult and ungrateful. Dad barely spoke at all. The family that once worshipped her was finally seeing the cracks I'd lived with all my life. And me? I was thriving. I had new friends, new hobbies, and even a new man in my life. Someone kind, someone steady, someone who respected me. One evening, as I sat on my porch watching the sunset, my phone buzzed. A text from Star. It said, "I wish I could go back and undo everything. I miss my sister." I stared at it for a long time before deleting it. Some things can't be undone. Some bridges burn for a reason, and for the first time in years, I felt free. But freedom comes with a twist, because a few weeks later, I got news that made me sit down in shock. Star wasn't just back home. She was pregnant, and suddenly the entire family expected me to step in and help. When my mom called to tell me Star was pregnant, my first reaction wasn't shock. It was exhaustion. She launched right into it. Your sister needs you. She can't do this alone. You have to step up, I almost laughed. Step up after everything? Mom, I said flatly, she's not my responsibility. Her voice sharpened. She's family. I hung up. Over the next week, my phone blew up. Calls, texts, Facebook messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. She's scared. She made mistakes, but this is different. You're her sister. You can't turn your back on her now. It was the same script I'd heard my entire life. Protect Star, forgive Star, sacrifice for Star. And suddenly I understood something. This pregnancy wasn't just about her. It was about dragging me back into the role I'd finally escaped. I refused. Then Ryan showed up again. I was coming back from a run when I saw him sitting on my porch steps. He stood as I approached, looking even rougher than last time. She told you, didn't she? He asked. I crossed my arms. If you mean the pregnancy, yes. His jaw clenched. It's mine. Of course it was. He rubbed his temples. I don't know what to do. I can't be a father right now. Things are falling apart at work. My life is a mess. I let out a bitter laugh. Sounds like a you problem. He stepped closer, desperation in his eyes. I made the wrong choice. Please, I just want another chance. I took a step back. Ryan, the only thing you're getting from me is distance. Stay away from me. I went inside and locked the door. Watching him through the window as he stood there, defeated, felt like the closure I didn't know I still needed. A week later, Star came herself. She didn't bother knocking. She just started pounding on my door until I opened it. She looked terrible, pale, exhausted, eyes hollow. I need you, she said, her voice breaking. I can't do this alone. Something in me twisted. Because despite everything, she was still my little sister. But then I remembered sitting on the floor of my empty house years ago, staring at a bottle of pills, wondering if life was even worth living, while she played happy family with the man who broke me, and the twist in my chest hardened into steel. No, I said quietly. Her eyes widened. No? You made your bed, Star. Now you lie in it. You wanted my husband. You wanted my life. Now you've got it, the good and the bad. Tears streamed down her face. I was jealous. I thought if I took what you had, I'd finally feel enough. But I don't. I feel empty. For a moment, I almost softened. Almost. But then I remembered all the times she'd smirked while I cried. I don't hate you, I said finally. But I don't owe you. Not anymore. And I closed the door in her face. My parents were furious. My mom left me a voicemail screaming about how heartless I was. My dad, normally silent, even texted, "She's your sister. She needs you." But I didn't waver, because here's the truth. I had spent my whole life sacrificing for Star, and it nearly destroyed me. This time, I chose me. Months passed. Star had the baby, a little girl. I heard through whispers from relatives. Ryan wasn't around. My parents were stuck helping her, their golden child now a single mom with no direction. And me? I kept thriving. I ran a half marathon. I got another promotion at work. I traveled. Italy, Greece, the places I used to dream about but never believed I'd see. Most importantly, I was happy. Truly happy, not because I'd hurt them. Not because I'd won, but because I'd finally stepped out of their shadow and built a life of my own. One night, sitting on my porch with a glass of wine, I got one final message from Star. It said, "I know you'll never forgive me, but I hope someday my daughter gets to meet the version of you I grew up jealous of, the strong, kind, amazing sister I always wanted to be." I didn't reply, but I smiled, because for once, she finally saw me. So here's what I learned. Sometimes revenge isn't about screaming or plotting or making someone pay. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is just living well, because the people who broke you, they'll break themselves eventually, and when they do, you'll already be standing tall, free.